We're live. We are live. Welcome to another day in Miracle March. Today is day 19. Day 19 of Miracle March. And today's an amazingly special day for more than one reason. Not because of only who I got with me in the studio today, but today is also my son's birthday. He has turned 13. And I'm super excited. I'm super excited that I get to spend time here in New York with him and to see how much he's developed and grown. And so that's the first special thing about today. But also today in Miracle March, we have Jackie with us. And for those who, if this is the first time that you are tuning into Miracle March is an intentional month of transforming minds by influencing, motivating, and coaching aspiring entrepreneurs while empowering them with tools to succeed. And that is our mission. That's what we're here all about here in On Purpose Ways. And so, Jackie, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I very much appreciate it. I know your time is very
Absolutely.
precious.
Absolutely. I'm super excited because we've met in person. I've seen you a few times at this point. And when we were on that daily dial, you decided to jump in. You decided that, hey, I want to be a part of that. What made you decide to jump in and be a part of that?
Uh, it's if you don't take action, you're not going to get your dreams. So I knew I had to jump in and take action, and I keep taking action. And eventually, I know that the work pays off, as
Yeah,
well as doing all the mindset and the manifesting, and it will pay off. So I had to jump in somewhere, and that's where I started.
man, I love it. And you talked about like your dream and manifesting. What would you say if you don't mind talking? Because I love to know. Well, what is that dream? Like, what would be that dream? And tell me a
Uh,
little bit about that.
the dream is to be able to have financial freedom for myself and for my kids. And ultimately, that financial freedom needs to include the funding and monies to support all of my nonprofits that I want to do.
Hmm. What type of nonprofits?
Veteran dogs, I want to supply dogs to veterans who need them for medical purposes or just for emotional support.
Hmm.
And then there's also regular medical dogs that are supplied to children who have epilepsy and other diseases that the dog can kind of predict that they're coming
Wow.
and get them help. And those dogs are incredibly expensive. So most families can't afford them. And I'd like to be able to help people get the dogs and support that they need. It's really no different than having medical equipment you need. So I want to be able to help people with that. And then I also have a huge passion for single moms.
Hmm.
So I want to help some single moms get the support, education, and help to get them on very positive careers and tracks with their children, that everyone can be a big part of society. And
Hmm.
hopefully they give back and start the whole circle again.
Wow. Jackie, it's not very often that I hear someone with the level of clarity that you have as to what that bigger goal, that bigger vision for their life really is beyond your own freedom. Most people are tripped up until their freedom, and then past that, it's like that we why is just super hard for them to define. What gives you that level of clarity in understanding that, like with, especially like with the dogs and stuff? What gives you that level of clarity?
So with the dogs, I have family who have served in the military, but I've also gotten into stand-up paddleboard racing and found that there are a lot of groups out there of veterans and trying to help veterans. And I find it so sad that so many of like the homeless are veterans who have served and given so much to us.
Mhm.
And they're out there, some by choice, and I don't know that I can change that. But those who really just need some help to get their life back on track when they come back, or
Mhm.
horrible, emotional trauma because of lost limbs, families that left them or couldn't hang on till they came back. It's,
Wow.
they've given everything for us to have our freedom. So I need to give my freedom back and pay that back.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's do you find that keeping that vision, keeping that why to the forefront of your mind, do you find like it motivates you even in getting like being an REI?
Yes, yes. When I'm doing things like I was this morning, ripping down drywall and having mouse droppings falling out all over the place, and I'm going, why am I doing this? I have to pull that why to the very
Yeah.
forefront of my mind. Excuse me, because that's what gets me through those kind of moments. That while that is really gross, a lot of them have gone through things so much more horrible.
Mhm.
Mine's so very temporary, and they're living in bad conditions. They're living in that, and can't afford to get out of it. Don't know how to get out of it. So it's kind of a really good kicking reminder of why.
Oh my goodness. That is so awesome. And I want to celebrate you in being and having that so dialed in, because that's a major piece. You've already entered the address into your GPS, and so now let's go back to your current location, because having the address is perfect, but having an understanding your current location, and this is dealing with traumas, dealing with your mindset, dealing with just understanding a lot of these things, um, is where I could probably also help with. And so, what were you hoping to get out of this call today? Like, do you have any particular questions for me?
I think sometimes I feel like I'm there this week for sure. I kind of lose my way because I'm into too many things.
Mm.
I started just a year ago. It's been like a year and a week now, with REI. First time I'd ever even heard of it.
Yeah.
Went into the wholesaling, like everybody says, try to wholesale. Found out that was dumping a whole lot of money into things that weren't coming fruitioning fast enough. So I had a friend somebody I met in a local meeting who, she came to me finally after like my first 3 or 4 months in this. She says, "Hey, how's the wholesaling going?" When we got to our meeting, and I said, "Oh, I really just, it's not working." And she says, "Well, what do you really want to do?" I said, "I really want to flip." She says, "Well, why aren't you?" And I said, "Well, I don't have the funds, the money, da, 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 da." And she says, "You'll figure it out." She says, "Just get the house." Long story short, about 6 weeks later, I signed on a house.
Oh wow.
while I was in Canada, moving my daughter into college, my realtor called me and said, "That crazy offer you said that you weren't going to offer him what he wanted, but you gave me your number and said, I know he's not going to take this, but if he decides to, come down, here's my number." She says, "He'll take that number."
Wow.
So I signed on this house while I was up in Canada, and that's the one I'm still rehabbing.
Oh man, that's awesome. So how's the rehab going? And so if I understand you correctly, you really want to flip.
Well, I did want to flip.
Okay.
Getting into this one has changed my mind, because in October, all of a sudden I got introduced to the multifamily arena. Because somebody brought me like a 7 property portfolio. I needed help underwriting it. Somebody in sub 2 helped me underwrite it, connected me and said, "Well, why don't you join these multifamily calls sometime and just see what they're about?" So, okay. So I joined, and I was hooked because KJ Mudd made a really good point one night in that they said this is when they decided they weren't going to go less than 100 units, because it took the same amount of time to do over 100 units as it did to do under 100 units.
Yep.
And that's when all the bells rang. Oh my gosh, the hours and hours and hours I have spent in this one property flip.
Yeah.
I could have done how many multifamily units? So that was my very big aha moment. and I moved to doing the multifamily. So that's where I'm at now, multifamily. But I also have another thing that I'm doing. I joined when I converted my 401k to do multifamily. I immediately I joined a syndication in August last year. Somebody met me at one of those REIs, the multifamily REI, and it was actually my very first meeting. And she says, "You want to join a syndication?" I said, I don't even know what that is. So she says, "Let me take you to lunch and I'm going to train you." So we sat for 2 hours with a laptop at a luncheon, and she trained me what syndication was. And I converted a 401k, joined her syndication, took the rest of it and invested it into a small business that's an investor business in California to help other women get the money they need to do their flips.
Nice.
That business has also grown into doing some very large development investments. So that's kind of now where I'm at working on that, but I want to keep my multifamily team going, and I want to grow that. And it's struggling right now because not everyone is maybe had the time to put into it that we all wanted to. So it's kind of struggling. So I think I need to finish the flip, which should be done the end of this month. We expect to put it on the market the beginning of April. My partner and I are both working very hard towards that goal, hence the reason I was over there this morning. And once I can get that out of the way, then I can have more time to work on my multifamily. And the hope is that the other developmental project is going to allow me to leave my W-2, but it will also allow me much more time on my multifamilies. Yeah. So I'm working towards keeping that multifamily going, and also our investor company will be my primary.
Okay.
Lots of streams.
Yeah, lots of streams. And here's the thing: when it comes to streams, we should definitely work on one stream first and be an expert in that stream. Become really good at that stream before expanding into several different streams, because now without a system in place, our attention goes, and like you said, your multifamily is suffering right now because it seems like other things are it seems good right now. So I have some questions. When it comes to your development business, you said that this might be the thing that gets you out of work. Tell me more about that, because when you say it's going to get you out of work, is it going to be a windfall of cash, or is it going to be a windfall of cash flow?
It's a windfall of cash flow.
Okay. So it's a development and keep and hold.
Right. This is something that I'll be working on. It's a 10-year project. And it's very large, and my portion of it annually is very, very good. It's going to let me leave my W-2.
Yeah.
But then there's other additional developments already waiting in the wings for us to close this one. And then we'll move on to the others, and each of them will add on to that annual stream, and I'll have equity in each of them as well as annual cash. So yes, it's, and you know what? It's all the connections. It's, as everybody says, it's who you talk to. The woman that I contacted as a last ditch effort, because her name was written in my notebook from some call I'd been on, where, you have so many people who say, "Oh, call me if you need help. Call me if you need money." Oh. And I had exhausted all the other PMLs, and I happened to send her an email, and we connected, and we have so many nonprofits. She's got many, many global nonprofits that she wants to do. Wow. And she's the main owner of the investor company. So, and she's a massive fundraiser, and she's just absolutely incredible. And it's a team of now 3 of us that are teaming up to work these different multiple development programs or projects in order to fund our own nonprofits, really.
Oh, that's incredible. And would you say like 10 years is when you would actually like to be free from your job?
Yes. I think it'll happen sooner than that with the number of developments we have in the pipeline. Mm-hmm. But I don't know what I would do. I'd be bored out of my mind. I mean, if I can work and, run these projects and do multifamily and become on the back end more of an investor and help people with funding their multifamilies. That would be ideal, because really it's time that I need. And if I can go make calls from whatever child I'm visiting
Yeah.
and grandkids I'm spending time with, they're all in school the majority of the day and they've got things, their own lives to do. I'd love to get my kids all into this same business. But I don't think I'll ever quit working.
I agree with you so much on that. Like quitting working, and it's very different when you work for yourself. And there's a great distinction when it comes to the difference between job and work. And your job is something that you do for money, right? You do it for money and you have to do it.
And it makes somebody
Work,
else.
exactly. Exactly, 100%. And work is something you do for fulfillment. And you never stop working at all, because you do it from a different place. You don't do it out of necessity, you do it out of purpose.
Mhm.
Your job, you do it out of necessity, and that's the thing that we want to get rid of. And what I hear you saying is that you want to get into work, but it's somewhat scary, because understanding what you're going to do once you leave your job is the place of like unknown.
Right.
So let's talk about that, because there's a bridge here, because you have the nonprofits, which is the big destination of what you want to do.
Mhm.
And then you have your job that you want to leave, and you need that bridge to get the freedom and everything to be able to do your work,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
So when you say you don't know what you would do, you mean if you retired too fast? Because if you stopped your job without enough money to do your work, then you're gonna feel stuck. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Oh, that I would definitely feel stuck, because if I can't get into, I guess when I think of stop working, it's like people say retire, like you're just going to go never have that purpose, that thing
Yeah.
you wake up every day to go do. And it's what you said is, I want to wake up and do work. I want to be able to get up, make calls, go to the nonprofits, go
Yeah.
see who's getting their dogs today, drive those goals, drive those nonprofits to help people and be able to get in the trenches with those people. My son is going to school to eventually be a canine trainer. So it's a perfect,
Awesome.
in marrying of being able to pull him into it. And I have another daughter who wants to do nonprofit for some like clinical therapy for mothers of stillborns. Because we've had that happen in our family, and she's got to drive to do that. She's a clinical therapist and wants to start her own nonprofit. So bringing her in, and then the single mom thing, I think we could find a good marrying of our two nonprofits, where we're helping women. And it'll involve my kids, which will make me happy, because ultimately I just want time with my kids.
Yeah.
And to be able to the way they all want nonprofits.
Wow.
So it'd be great to pull them in, and I'm trying to figure out the last puzzle pieces to pull all of them in, and it'll be time to get not only fund my nonprofits, but be able to fund them the financial freedom from their jobs to be able to come work the nonprofits.
What you're saying is so incredible. You're like the perfect example of turning pain to purpose. Like, incredible example. 1 second.
Bless you.
Thank you. I had to let that out. Incredible example of turning pain into purpose. And like the things that you've been through, you're wanting to have nonprofits to be able to now help the previous version of yourself.
Right.
Now let's talk about the money aspect, the making money. How do you get over this bridge? Now, do you believe that the uncertainty of knowing what you would do if you were free makes you not focus on multifamily as fast or as hard right now subconsciously, because you could get pretty close to what would be a good financially free number for you. Like, how much would you have to make a month?
If I did 20K a month for myself, that would be more than enough for me. And then be able to still fund nonprofit, be able to still fund some money into more further investments. That would still allow me some money for investments. That covers me. But like I said, I want to also get to where I can get my kids out of their jobs and into some work. I love the way you separated that, because that actually gave me some really good clarity.
It helps. It really helps when you look at it different, and it doesn't make you feel lazy, right? It doesn't make you feel like I'm just about to retire and go rot in a corner, which the meaning of retirement is to put out of use. That's the meaning of retire. You put it out of use. Exactly. So let's go out and do work instead of a job, right? And so you could make that with 100-unit building, right? It's possible to get that kind of cash flow. What makes you not focus or let it kind of fall to the wayside? When
literally it's been time right now, because besides the flip that we're trying to close on, I also do photograph my son's collegiate games. So every Saturday now I am traveling, and sometimes it's Friday night through Sunday afternoon to go to his games and film them, because they're multiple states away. So I lost all my Saturdays and a lot of hours there. I also have, of course, the W-2, but I also have a dog that I'm training up to do search and rescue eventually, and she's a puppy, and it is continual training every day. They talk about the consistency. I'm still trying to find that schedule that serves all of them effectively, if that makes sense. Because you get up and you're working on the W-2, and then it's like training the dog all day long constantly, because I do work remotely. So it's kind of the constant, continual training with her. And then trying to work on the multifamily thing, do a few broker calls here or there. And then at night it's jumping on whatever Zooms, whoever's on the Wednesday night Zooms, the Tuesday night Zooms, the Sunday night Zooms, the Thursday night, my fire chaser call. And then finding time to chase brokers, right? You send them texts, you send them an email, you make a call, and there's no answer, no response. And it is, you have to really be tenacious with it. And I feel like I don't have enough consistent time to chase after that, if that makes sense. And then there's time that I'm spending with this other developmental thing. This week I had to fly out west for 2 days, and I left at 6 o'clock one morning, and I got in at just after midnight the next night, because I had to compress it as much as I could.
Wow. So if you were to rank these things, especially with how does it get me to the goal, right? We're trying to get to this destination, and one thing could lead to the next. Ultimately, we could try to do all at the same time and feel burnt out, feel like just like there's no time, right?
I'm there. That's why I said I need you. I could not have picked a better date to have this, because that's where I'm at this week after all the travel and working at the flip. And I'm just, some days it's like, I'm over this, but then it's like, well, what is that going to get me? Nothing. So put on your boots and let's go.
That's one way to do it, for sure. Another way to do it is to sit back and see how you could do all of this and not be burnt out, right? And so what would that look like? So today you went to the flip and you did some of the things. Why did you do it? Why did a contractor or somebody else not go do it?
So to maximize the profit out of this one and cover all of the mentorships that I've invested in, my partner and she also has a lot of mentorships that she has joined. And for the two of us decided we would do what we could with the contractor, and they have finished their work. And then there was a lot of work for us to do. She owns a concrete business, decorative concrete. So she took on some of the big concrete jobs that were in this. We had to redo 2 porches. And then she's doing some epoxy shower walls because she also does all of that. So they were in her niche and in her thing. So she took that part and I took all the other stuff. And there's been a lot. The basement turned out to be a water pit. So we've had to put in water remediation systems and, redo drywall, redo framing, and just a lot. Redo floors, paint everything. So we decided we would split it in order to pay off some of that debt.
Awesome.
Split between the contractor and sweat equity.
So let's look at this big picture, right? So you have this flip, and there's a lot of things that you both could do to add to it to be able to save and maximize profits. Now, let's say paying a contractor to do some of these additional work would have cost you $10,000, right? It cost you $10,000. But then you're able to have the time, the mental capacity to continue to look for multifamily properties. So your profit on this side isn't as large, but the investment of time into furthering your goal towards freedom is a lot higher. You have a lot more time. And so what if, and this is now all what ifs, what if you could have used all of that energy and got a deal, 100-unit property, and you start getting your 20,000 a month? What if? It's a big what if, right?
Oh, yeah.
But it's a possibility because we're trying to save on this side.
That's why when I joined the multifamily and I heard her say that, and it just was a huge light bulb. I was like, this was crazy. This was really crazy. But looking back, I didn't know about multifamily, or I never would have done flipping.
No, and let me be clear. That is okay, because maybe had you not started to flip, you would have never heard of multifamily, right? Like something always leads to the other thing. So I am never I shouldn't have done this. I'm like, how can we take what we've done and use it to continue to go forward? And so the reason I'm phrasing it and I'm asking it in this way is because now you know. Now you know, and so when you know, you make different decisions. And so if you're able to factor and put aside, doing this makes me this amount of money, doing this has the potential to make me a lot more, and this is going to give me the cash flow that I could then use to invest in the development freely.
Right.
So if I got the freedom now by getting a multifamily or a few multifamilies, I could put my time into the development that's going to add to my freedom. Maybe this is for the kids. Maybe this is for all, because now I have more time. So I could leave my job, and now I'm starting to do work because I'm looking at where I'm going, although it may be a few years down the line. But this was set me up to start doing my work. This was set me up to start doing a lot of this stuff. And so but I can't get there if I have my job. I have several other jobs, because you going to the flip is another job.
Yep.
Right? Like all these things that's taken away from your creativity to move you towards purpose faster. And so now we're talking about time management, right? We're talking about time management. We're talking about prioritizing the things. And so if you could list in order your top 3 goals, we're almost at the end of first quarter. What would be your top 3 goals for the new quarter?
Flip is done. which I know that we're literally about 2 weeks away, if not sooner, because we're almost done. It looks really good. So it would be to be working, say, next quarter. End of next quarter, I want to be gone from the W-2 because it looks like I can. We're hoping to close in 30 to 60 days. 30 as long as the lawyers don't drag it out a little farther. That will literally free me up to leave my job and be able to do multifamily, because when I told my partner, I said, this will be great, I'll have so much time to work on this. She says, but wait, I don't need you that much time. And I'm like, excuse me? So you're going to pay me that to monitor the project, and you don't need me full time. So that means my multifamily will be my next priority. So by the next quarter, I'll be out of the W-2. I'll be working on this new big development, also working to close others, which eventually I'll watch them as well. But these are things that I can still do multifamily. They're still in the funding real estate arena, and I will also become having access to some off-market multifamilies through this investment company.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it's going to help me find more off-market deals for multifamily, but I'm also learning all the funding side, and I'm having access to funding. So this should come full circle for my multifamily group if they can just hang in there.
Yeah.
Right now, we've got a couple of things we want to write some LOIs for, but we don't. Our underwriter has not had time to underwrite it. So we're kind of like, let's underwrite this and give them the deal that we think makes sense. Mm-hmm. Let's get an LOI on this. It's got a unique situation with the owner that they're not in any big hurry. So I want to get our hat, throw our hat in the arena there. And hopefully this is just the first couple of many that we can have moving through the multifamily. So those are the two things that I want to be running, is the investment development projects, as well as the multifamily by the end of next quarter.
So that's two. Are you going to only focus on those two things in the next quarter?
I have to focus on my dog. Her training is big. In order to get her trained up and because what that's doing is it's getting me in the arena of the service dog people. The people I'm training with are service dog trainers. So that is, I'm working that network to get people and access. I have breeders I know have dogs that are the perfect temperaments.
Yeah.
Now I need trainers, and I need to find those people who would be willing to go into something like that and train for nonprofits.
Amazing.
So that really is my third one, and I have to stay with it because I started that a year ago, and I want it more every day.
Oh man, that is good, and I like 3. Anything more than 3, you start to off balance, right? So here's my question: are you going to be able to say no to everything else that comes your way?
I've started. And the good thing is, like my son, I told you I do this lacrosse thing for him, and he is graduating in May, at the very beginning of May.
Yeah.
So he will be going off to the academy, and that was the last child coming out of college. So I have been always watching their sports. I've always been, the sport mom, the team manager, the team photographer, and the school PTO, you name it, I was in it. And now my last one is graduating college. So there's a big emptiness there, and I've backfilled it quite well, enough that I'm able to choose what I want to do. So I'm very, very blessed and fortunate.
Awesome. So I love the clarity with what's coming up next quarter.
Yes.
And I really want you to commit to saying no to other things, because now that you are super clear with what needs to be done, or the big blocks, now breaking those things down with the next strategic step as to, like, what blocks are you feeling like you're having in one of those businesses? Let's say multifamily. Do you feel like you're having any things that's blocking your thoughts, or not understanding the next step, or something that just isn't clear for you?
I have a hard time with people when, we get on all the calls and they say, nobody's asking questions. And I'm like, oh, sometimes you just don't have that question until you start working the deal. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I've got 3 pages of questions. So we're trying to get far enough into a deal where I'll have all those questions. And I'm lucky enough to have Marcel, my own neighborhood, that if I get that far, I know I can contact him to get resources for help.
Sure.
If not, and his team has been phenomenal. They have helped us when we needed to underwrite. They've given us great advice. So we're working under their wings. And also Vina Jetty, she's been another one that we've been following. Carlos, I follow very closely. So, and Grant Cardone, it's like but at some point that was what was draining me, was here's my schedule full of Zooms every single night, right? And at some point I said, okay, I need to stop Zooming and go do, so that I can actually have valuable questions. Because sometimes I've gotten to a point where I feel like I could almost quote and repeat everything they're going to say on a call, because I've listened to it so many times. And every time I travel, I listen to Rod Khleif. I listen to his podcasts too. So it's like all of these things, I'll pull up podcasts when I'm driving hours and hours and hours and listen to it. So at some point I just have to step back and go, okay, Jackie, get off the Zoom, go find properties.
Yeah.
Get online and go do your multifamily work, because that's something you can do from 8 to 10 to 12 at night.
Absolutely.
So research those properties, line up your broker calls for the next 2 days and who you're going to tenaciously chase until you get an answer. And that's what I really want to do. And it's just my W-2 picked up in the last couple of weeks, and I just need to get them over their little hump of work here and get them all flowing again, because I'm a program manager. So as soon as I lay out their plan, they can go work. I get them into a cadence of quick, short meetings, and then I can have some time to, fill in on my lunch breaks and things, doing broker calls.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I just really love the clarity in, and I don't know if it's when I challenge you a little bit, it gets a little bit more clear as you speak about it, because you have those things written down and you start executing on it. You've already started to stop doing things, and I think that's the big thing for you, and not getting distracted by things that may seem like an opportunity but might be a distraction. I want you to be super clear and aware of it, because as great as an opportunity may sound, if it's not taking you to that destination that you already have, it's a distraction. I don't care how
that's what I kind of go back to, is all of the times that you and others have said, if what you're doing is not feeding your goal, you need to not be doing it.
100%.
And it's hard, because sometimes you feel like that's the networking opportunity. That's where you're going to hear some golden nugget. So a lot of times I've got an earbud in on a podcast and I'm searching properties, or I'm, at the flip, I'll run podcasts or I'll run the calls and just listen. I can't take notes, but I can listen. And if there's some really good little tidbit, I'll stop and put it in my phone and my notes in my phone. If there's a person on there that I want to reconnect with, I'll just save a screenshot of their name and number and I can get back to them later. But it is hard, because I almost feel guilty not being on the calls.
Get rid of the guilt. Get rid of the guilt, because you're going to feel great when you are able to hit your goals. And then doing other things will not, you won't necessarily miss it. And the FOMO, that fear of missing out, just leave it alone, because especially when the things that you're doing is in alignment with where you're going.
Okay.
And so it's okay, because once you start getting distracted, you start getting pulled, and somebody is telling you all these different ways to do different things, and it's amazing, but it takes you away. This is where saying no is powerful. No is so powerful. And
never been good at saying no. Obviously, with all of the things that I've always done with all my kids, it's like it's fun, but I could never say no, and that's how I got
Yeah,
dragged into everything.
man, it's no makes me feel great to say no, because when I say no to that, I say yes to my purpose, right? And
Okay,
so,
now that I can live with.
exactly,
Thank
that's
you.
frame it that way, and now you're like, oh man, I'm going closer and closer to my purpose. And so, man, this has been an amazing conversation, Jackie. Any
You've helped me.
final thoughts or anything like that?
You've helped me. Two things just so easy is that the no equals yes to your priorities. It means
Yeah.
yes to what I'm driving for. And then the difference between job and work. I love that one.
Yeah, that's those right there makes you not feel like you're trying to be lazy. It makes you, it gives you purpose. It's like, I want to do the thing that fuels me, right? Like, and I'm not doing it for money. I'm doing it because my heart is in it. Like, I want to do these things.
Right.
So
Yeah,
so
because
amazing.
people say, "Oh, what kind of car are you going to get when you get your reach your goals?" And I'm like, I could care less. I want one that's functional and can carry my dog. Beyond that, I don't really care. I don't want a big house full of empty rooms that I have to clean or even hire to clean. Why?
Yeah.
It's like I know what I want and I have those things already designed out. Yeah, I went online. I found my car, but I found it because I filled out a 2-hour survey of what functions that I want in the car, what functionality I want. So, and it ended up not being a fancy car, and I am so good with that.
Oh
And
man.
things like that. And you pick your house. I have a vision board, and the things that are on there, when I look at it, they're all like, "These are your visions, but what do you want?" And I'm like, I don't need things. I want people. I want to see joy in people. I want to see people become successful, and I want to give back, and I want to see my kids be happy doing something that is work, not a job.
Exactly. Man,
So to be able
so
to see that
incredible.
and be able to pass that down would be golden.
Amazing. That is exactly what it would be. Golden. And think about the habits that you're passing down. Like, they're good ones. They're ones that's empowering. They're ones that's transformational. Nicole said, "Thank you for sharing, Jackie." Like, because the things that you've shared, even in how you have the clarity and just a little bit of nudge to get back on track or to stop doing a few things, is like, it's such an amazing share and conversation. So Jackie, thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity to work with you and to get these nuggets from you that are going to help keep me motivated and directed in my goal. Because it's easy, like you said, the saying no is very difficult. You never want to say no to your kids. You never want to say no to anything that leads to help them. So I've never been able to say no. But lately I've been kind of pushing things aside and saying, no, it's not in alignment of my goals. It's not in alignment
There
of
you
my goals.
go. There you
The
go.
flip is an obligation that I have to my partner, and we will finish it and we will move on.
Let's go. That's the attitude, man. So Jackie, thank you so much.
Thank
Guys,
you.
no problem. Another amazing day of Miracle March on the 19th day. We've been doing this for 19 days, y'all. Every single day of March, we've been blessing others and just pouring into them. Thank you all for supporting me. Thank you all for supporting the channel. If you have not yet, like and subscribe to Kess on Purpose, the channel, so that we could continue to bring you more transformational information as to how you could transform your mind and start achieving the goals and the tools, giving you the tools to succeed. Guys, we're signing out. I'm about to go have some fun with my little man. Well, he's a big boy now, 13. So peace and love, y'all. Catch y'all tomorrow at 4 p.m. Peace, y'all.